The rain tapped against the window as Michael sat alone, staring at the silent phone, wondering why dread filled his chest. Suddenly it rang, shrill and sharp, and his heart raced as he picked it up with trembling fingers. Emily said, "Michael, I don't know how to say this, but you need to hear it now." Michael whispered, "What happened? You sound broken." Emily's voice cracked. "It's about Daniel. He did something none of us can forgive." Michael clenched his jaw, his world tilting as he muttered, "Don't say it. Not Daniel." Emily continued, "He betrayed you in the worst way, Michael, and the truth will tear everything apart." Michael's breath hitched, his body frozen as the words dug into his soul. He whispered to himself, "I knew he envied me, but not this." Emily added, "It's bigger than envy. It's destruction." Michael closed his eyes, the weight of 1,000 memories crashing into him, each one shattered by the truth he had yet to face. He said softly, "Family is supposed to protect, not destroy." Emily's silence on the other end was heavier than words, and Michael realized his life would never be the same. Michael sat in silence long after the call ended, the rain outside masking his ragged breaths. He whispered, "Daniel, why would you do this to me?" His chest tightened, anger and sorrow clashing. The room felt smaller, suffocating, shadows stretching taller across the walls. He pressed his palm to his forehead, memories flooding his mind, Daniel's smile, their shared laughter, the bond they once had. "We were brothers before anything else," he muttered. Emily's broken voice echoed in his mind, filled with despair, the truth undeniable. The pain of betrayal clawed at his heart, hot like fire. Michael stood, pacing the room, each step heavy, like dragging chains of memory. His fists clenched, nails digging into his skin as he forced out, "I have to know the whole truth." Phone sat silently on the table, like a weapon daring him to call Daniel, to demand an explanation. Michael stopped, staring at the rain-soaked glass, his reflection cracked, everything broken. Michael remembered the last time he saw Daniel, the way his brother avoided his eyes. He whispered, "You were hiding something even then." His pulse quickened as images overlapped. Daniel's confident smirk, their father's proud gaze, his own forgotten silence. Michael said bitterly, "I was invisible, wasn't I?" Memories of holidays, birthdays, and arguments swirled together like broken glass. He sank onto the couch, whispering, "Did you betray me for them, or for yourself?" His voice cracked, echoing in the quiet. Michael gripped the pillow beside him, eyes burning, and murmured, "I wanted nothing but love from you." The silence answered like a void. The betrayal was no longer a possibility. It was reality carved deep into his bones. The clock ticked loudly, each second louder than the last. Michael said softly, "I should call him, but what if he lies again?" He walked toward the table, staring at the silent phone as if it were alive. His breath grew heavier, anger clawing at the edges of despair. He muttered, "He doesn't deserve silence, not after this." Michael thought of Emily's tearful words and whispered, "She wouldn't say it unless it was real." He reached for the phone but froze, his fingers hovering, trembling. He said bitterly, "Do I even want to hear his voice?" The shadows loomed across the room, making him feel smaller, trapped by walls of betrayal. Michael finally pulled his hand back and slumped into the chair, whispering, "Not tonight. I can't." He pressed his palm against his eyes, a broken sigh escaping his lips. His chest rose and fell, ragged, each breath a struggle. He whispered, "Daniel, why do I feel like I lost you years ago?" The rain outside softened, a cruel lullaby against his torment. Michael closed his eyes, remembering Daniel's laughter, now turned into a ghost haunting his memory. He whispered, "You destroyed the only bond I thought was safe." The silence in the room felt permanent, like the ending of something sacred. The morning light crept into the room, but Michael barely noticed. His thoughts were still tangled in the web of the night's revelations. The betrayal hung in the air like a thick fog, suffocating him. He sat at the kitchen table, staring at his coffee cup, too numb to drink. His mind replayed Emily's words, Daniel betrayed you. It was like a bruise that wouldn't heal, throbbing with each passing second. Michael thought, how could he do this to me? He wanted to scream, to lash out, but the silence of the room kept him still. A sudden knock on the door made his heart skip. It was Emily, her face pale, her eyes filled with worry. She stepped in without waiting for an invitation, her voice steady but urgent. "We need to talk," she said. Michael stood up, the weight of the world pressing on his chest. He whispered, "About Daniel." Emily nodded. "Yes, you need to hear everything, Michael." The room seemed to shrink around them, as if the walls were closing in, and Michael knew his life was about to change forever. Emily's words hit Michael like a physical blow. Daniel's been hiding things that will change everything. She paced the room, wringing her hands. Michael clenched his fists. He couldn't sit still anymore. "What are you saying, Emily?" he asked, his voice rising. Emily stopped, looking him in the eye. "I don't want to say too much, but Daniel's been involved in something dangerous, something he didn't want you to know." Michael shook his head in disbelief. "What could be so bad? We were brothers." Emily took a deep breath, her face filled with regret. "It's not just the betrayal, Michael. It's worse. And now he's in too deep to get out." Michael's heart raced as he absorbed her words. He stood up abruptly, knocking over his coffee cup. "I need to see him now." Emily's face softened, and she stepped closer. "It's not that simple," she said. "You need to understand everything first." But Michael couldn't wait. He had to confront Daniel, to demand answers, even if it meant facing the truth he wasn't ready to hear. Michael's frustration boiled over as he stared at Emily, his breath shallow. "What are you not telling me? I deserve to know everything." Emily hesitated, looking away. "Michael, I don't think you're ready for this." Michael felt a surge of anger, but he held it in check. "I've been living in the dark my whole life. What else could you possibly hide from me?" Emily lowered her gaze, her voice barely above a whisper. "You were never meant to know the truth about Daniel." The words stung more than anything. Michael stepped closer to her, his eyes burning with urgency. "Tell me now, Emily. I need to hear it from you." Emily's face was filled with sorrow, but she didn't back down. "This is bigger than you think," she said. "Bigger than any of us." The weight of her words hung in the air, and Michael's chest tightened. He had no choice but to keep pushing, but a part of him was terrified of what he might hear. Emily sat down heavily at the table, her hands shaking. "You're not the only one who's been betrayed," she said quietly. "You've always been in the dark about Daniel, but I've seen things I wish I could forget." Michael stood frozen, his heart racing as his mind tried to process her words. "What are you talking about?" he asked. Emily wiped a tear from her cheek. "Daniel has been involved in things he shouldn't be. Dangerous people. And I didn't tell you because I didn't want to destroy you." Michael's mind reeled as he took a step back, trying to make sense of it all. "You let me live in this lie? All these years you let me believe we were a family." His voice was low, filled with hurt. Emily looked up at him, her eyes pleading. "I didn't want to hurt you, Michael, but I can't protect you from the truth anymore." The words struck him like a slap. Michael turned away, trying to hold on to some semblance of control, but the truth was a weight too heavy to carry. Michael's world felt like it was collapsing. His mind was overwhelmed by the weight of the truth. He ran his fingers through his hair, pacing back and forth. "I don't know what to do with this," he muttered. Emily remained quiet, watching him carefully. "You have to confront Daniel, Michael. He's the only one who can explain everything," she said. Michael turned to face her, his eyes filled with a mix of fear and determination. "I have to do this. I need answers, even if it breaks me." He grabbed his jacket, his movements sharp and decisive. "You need to understand, Emily. This isn't just about what Daniel did. It's about everything that's been hidden from me." Emily nodded slowly, her expression conflicted. "I know. But whatever happens, you have to be prepared for what you might find." Michael's heart pounded in his chest as he walked toward the door. The rain had stopped, but the storm inside him was just beginning. The door creaked open, and Michael stepped into the dimly lit living room. His heart hammered in his chest as he looked around, hoping for something familiar, something comforting. But all he saw was emptiness. "Daniel?" His voice echoed through the silence. No response. He moved deeper into the room, the floorboards creaking beneath his feet, each step heavier than the last. He wasn't sure what he expected, but it certainly wasn't this void. He thought of the years they spent together, the bond they shared, and now all he felt was betrayal. Michael ran a hand through his hair, muttering to himself, "Where are you, Daniel?" He heard the faint sound of footsteps behind him, and his breath caught in his throat. Turning quickly, he saw Daniel standing at the doorway, his expression unreadable. The silence stretched between them, thick and suffocating. Michael's eyes narrowed, his voice shaking. "I came for answers. You owe me that." Daniel didn't speak for a long moment. His eyes flicked to the floor, then back to Michael. "You might not like the truth, but I'll tell you everything," he said quietly. Daniel stepped into the room, his face hard, but Michael could see the tension in his posture. "I never wanted this for you, Michael," Daniel began, his voice low. Michael scoffed, crossing his arms. "You never wanted this? Then why did you do it?" Daniel closed his eyes for a moment, his jaw tightening. "It wasn't just me, all right? There's more to it." Michael's stomach twisted as he took a step forward. "What do you mean? Who else is involved?" Daniel hesitated, looking at the floor. "There are people who don't let you walk away once you're in." Michael's mind raced, the weight of the words sinking in. "You've been in something deep, haven't you?" Daniel's eyes met his. "I had no choice, Michael, but I never wanted you involved." Michael's eyes blazed with anger. "I was always your brother. You should have trusted me." Daniel's voice cracked slightly. "I didn't want to drag you into this, but it's too late now." The silence that followed was deafening. Michael's heart felt like it was being crushed under the weight of Daniel's admission. Michael's fists clenched at his sides as he stepped even closer to Daniel. "I don't care who else is involved, Daniel. You could have told me. We could have told me we could handle it together." Daniel flinched, his eyes flickering with regret. "It wasn't that simple," he replied. Michael's voice grew more urgent. "Then make it simple. I need to understand what's going on." Daniel took a deep breath and ran a hand through his hair. "I'm in debt, Michael, to people who don't take no for an answer. And the deeper I got, the harder it was to get out." Michael shook his head, disbelief written all over his face. "So you thought the solution was to shut me out? To put me in the dark?" Daniel's eyes met his, filled with a mixture of shame and sorrow. "I thought I could protect you, that I could fix things before they got this far. But now I'm trapped." Michael's heart twisted as he realized the depth of his brother's struggle. He wanted to hate him, to scream at him, but all he felt was the crushing weight of the situation. Daniel's voice faltered as he continued. "I didn't want you to get hurt, Michael. I thought I could handle it on my own." Michael stepped back, his mind racing. "Handle it? By lying to me? By pushing me away?" Daniel's eyes filled with tears, the weight of his actions finally breaking through his tough exterior. "I didn't know how to fix it. I didn't know who else to turn to." Michael ran a hand through his hair in frustration, pacing back and forth. "Why didn't you turn to me? Why didn't you trust me?" Daniel's gaze remained fixed on the floor. "I thought I was protecting you. I was wrong." Michael stopped pacing and turned to face him, his voice quieter now. "What do we do now, Daniel? Can you even fix this?" Daniel raised his head, his eyes red-rimmed and filled with regret. "I don't know if I can fix it, but I'm going to try. I'll do whatever it takes to make it right." Michael's heart wavered. The anger was still there, but so was the faint glimmer of hope that maybe, just maybe, they could rebuild what had been broken. Michael stared at his brother for a long moment, the silence hanging between them. "I don't know if I can forgive you for this, Daniel, but I want to try," he finally said, his voice low. Daniel's face softened, his shoulders relaxing for the first time in what felt like ages. "I don't expect forgiveness, but I'll do anything to earn it." Michael nodded slowly, his mind still racing. This is going to take time. A lot of time. Daniel stepped closer, his voice firm but filled with sincerity. I'm ready for that. I've already lost so much, but I won't lose you too. Michael looked at him, the weight of the moment settling over them. I don't know if things will ever be the same, but we'll figure this out, together. The two brothers stood in silence. Their shared pain now a bridge between them, not a chasm. Michael didn't know what the future held, but for the first time in a long time, he had hope. The silence in the room was suffocating as Michael and Daniel sat across from each other, the weight of their past hanging heavily between them. Michael's mind raced, Daniel's confession echoing in his ears. I don't understand, Michael said softly, his voice almost breaking. You could have come to me. We could have figured it out together. Daniel's eyes showed regret, but his expression remained hard. I thought I was protecting you, he said quietly. But I was wrong. I should have trusted you. Michael ran a hand through his hair, trying to process it. Trust? You never gave me the chance to prove myself, he said, the hurt evident in his voice. Daniel looked away. I didn't know how to fix things. I didn't know who to turn to. Michael's heart clenched. You could have turned to me. We've been through everything together. Daniel's voice was barely a whisper. I know, and I'm sorry. Michael let out a long breath, feeling the weight of it all. He had to decide if he could forgive or if this was the end. Emily's voice broke the heavy silence. You have to forgive him, Michael. He's not the enemy here. Michael's head snapped up, his eyes burning with frustration. How can you say that? He's the one who's been lying to me. He's the one who kept me in the dark. Emily stepped closer, her face full of concern. I know you're angry, but Daniel didn't want to hurt you. Michael stood up, his fists clenched by his sides. He didn't want to hurt me. He betrayed me, Emily. He let me believe everything was fine while he was digging a hole for both of us. Emily took a deep breath, her eyes softening. You've both been through so much, but you can't keep holding on to this anger. It's destroying you. Michael's breath hitched as he turned away, running a hand through his hair. I don't know how to forgive him. How do I even start? Emily placed a hand on his shoulder. You start by letting go of the past. Only then can you rebuild. The weight of her words lingered in the room, and Michael wasn't sure if he was ready to take that step. The next day, Michael met Daniel in the same room, the air still thick with tension. Michael couldn't hold back anymore. I need to know everything, Daniel. All of it. I can't keep living like this, not knowing what's going on behind my back. Daniel looked like he wanted to say something, but the words caught in his throat. Finally, he spoke, his voice trembling. It's not just about the debt, Michael. It's about what I did to try and fix it. Michael's heart dropped as Daniel continued. I made deals with people I shouldn't have. I hurt people, and I thought I could get away with it, but I was wrong. And now, I can't undo it. Michael stepped closer, his hands trembling. You're telling me you got involved in something that dangerous, and you didn't think to tell me? Daniel's face was pale, his eyes full of regret. I didn't want to drag you into it, but now it's too late. They're coming for me, Michael. The words hung in the air like a death sentence, and Michael felt the floor drop beneath him. Michael's mind raced as he processed Daniel's words. What do you mean? Coming for you? Who are these people? Daniel stood up, his hands trembling. I've gotten involved with people I can't get out of, Michael. They won't stop until they get what they want. Michael's chest tightened, panic rising in his throat. What do they want? Daniel's voice was barely a whisper. They want me to do things that go against everything I've ever stood for. I'm stuck, Michael. I don't know how to get out. Michael took a deep breath, trying to steady himself. We'll figure this out. Together. Daniel looked at him, his eyes filled with desperation. You don't understand, Michael. I'm too far gone. Michael grabbed his brother by the shoulders, forcing him to look him in the eye. No, you're not. We're brothers, and I'm not letting you face this alone. The weight of their shared past and the uncertainty of the future hung in the air. But in that moment, Michael felt a flicker of hope. The tension in the room was palpable as Michael and Daniel made their way to the front door. I don't know what's going to happen, Michael said, his voice low. But I'm not going to let you face this alone. Daniel nodded, his eyes filled with gratitude. I don't deserve your help, Michael. After everything I've done. Michael interrupted, his voice firm. It doesn't matter. You're my brother, and we stick together, no matter what. As they stepped outside into the cool night air, Michael could feel the weight of the world on his shoulders. But for the first time in a long time, he felt like he had made the right choice. Together they would face whatever came next. The night was heavy, but it was nothing compared to the weight Michael felt in his chest. After their confrontation with the dangerous people from Daniel's past, they were left with no choice but to run. What happens now? Michael asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Daniel stood beside him, looking out into the dark night, his eyes hard and distant. Now we survive, Daniel replied, his tone resolute. Michael's thoughts churned as the finality of Daniel's words sunk in. Survive? You mean keep running? Keep hiding? Daniel turned to face him, his expression solemn. It's not just about us anymore, Michael. It's about getting out, getting safe. Michael felt the frustration rising in his chest, his voice cracking as he spoke. How did we get here, Daniel? I didn't sign up for this. I didn't choose this. Daniel's face softened slightly. Neither did I, but now it's too late to turn back. The air between them felt thick, heavy with regret, but also an undeniable sense of camaraderie. Michael took a deep breath, staring into the darkness. All right, then let's get through this, together. The silence that followed was full of promise and unspoken understanding. The following days were a blur of motion, of moving from one place to the next, always looking over their shoulders. Michael felt the weight of it pressing down on him, a constant reminder of how far they had fallen. As they hid out in an old warehouse, Michael stared at the empty walls, his mind lost in thought. Daniel sat beside him, his face grim. Do you ever think about what could have been? Michael asked quietly. Daniel looked at him for a long moment before answering. Every day, but thinking about it won't change anything. Michael clenched his fists, frustration welling up inside him. I just wanted us to have a normal life, Daniel. I didn't want any of this. Daniel sighed deeply, running a hand through his hair. I know, but we've made our choices. Now we have to live with them. Michael turned away, his voice tight with emotion. I don't know if I can forgive you for all of this. Daniel's eyes softened, and he reached out, placing a hand on Michael's shoulder. I don't expect forgiveness, Michael. I only ask that you try. Michael closed his eyes, the pain of betrayal still sharp, but beneath it, there was a flicker of hope. Maybe, just maybe, they could find their way out of this together. Days turned into weeks, and the tension between Michael and Daniel remained thick, unspoken but present. They were on the run, constantly looking over their shoulders, always one step ahead of those who wanted to bring them down. One evening, as they sat on the rooftop of an abandoned building, Michael broke the silence. You know, I've been thinking a lot about how we got here, he said, his voice quiet but firm. I kept asking myself if there was another way, another path we could have taken. Daniel didn't answer at first, his eyes fixed on the horizon. There wasn't another way, Michael, he finally said, his voice heavy. We were already too far in. Michael looked at him, his face softening. So this is it? This is our life now? Always running, always hiding? Daniel turned to face him, his expression hardened. We don't have a choice, they'll keep coming for us. Michael took a deep breath, his mind spinning with the consequences of their actions. And what happens when they catch us? Daniel's face darkened, and he said simply, Then we fight. The night before they were due to leave the city, the tension reached its peak. Michael sat in the corner of their temporary hideout, the weight of their situation settling heavily on him. Do you ever wonder if this is all worth it? Michael asked, his voice laced with doubt. Daniel, who had been checking their supplies, paused for a moment. What do you mean? He asked, not looking up. I mean, are we doing the right thing? Running like this? Hiding from our past? Daniel finally looked at him, his expression unreadable. "We're doing what we have to do to survive." Michael shook his head, the uncertainty gnawing at him. "But for how long? At what point do we stop running and face what we've done?" Daniel's face softened slightly, but he remained firm. "We face it when we're ready, Michael. But right now we survive. We keep moving forward." Michael looked at him, the weight of his words sinking in. "And then what? What happens after?" Daniel didn't answer right away. "We'll figure it out," he said, his voice quiet but resolute. "Together." The final decision was made. Michael and Daniel were leaving, for good this time. They packed their things in silence, the weight of their shared journey heavy between them. As they stood by the door, Michael turned to Daniel. "I still don't know what the future holds," Michael said, his voice steady but filled with uncertainty. Daniel met his gaze, his expression calm but resolute. "We don't know what's coming, Michael, but we're in this together. No matter what happens, we face it as brothers." Michael nodded slowly, the finality of his words sinking in. "I don't know if I can ever fully forgive you," Michael admitted, his voice soft, almost apologetic. Daniel smiled slightly, a small but genuine gesture. "You don't have to, but I'll spend my life trying to earn that forgiveness." With that, they stepped out into the unknown, their past left behind, but their future still uncertain. Together, they would face whatever came next. The sound of rain hitting the windows was the only thing that broke the silence. Michael stared at the map in front of him, trying to plan their next move. But the weight of the world was on his shoulders. "How did we get here, Daniel?" he muttered under his breath, his hands tracing the map aimlessly. Daniel, sitting across the table, didn't answer immediately. He had grown quieter over the past few days, the guilt weighing heavily on him. Finally, Daniel spoke, his voice strained. "We did what we had to do, Michael. We've been running for so long, but now it's time to make a stand." Michael shook his head, frustration bubbling up. "A stand? We're not soldiers, Daniel. We're just two brothers trying to survive." Daniel's gaze hardened, his eyes intense. "It's more than survival now, Michael. We've come too far to just run." Michael's hands clenched into fists as he looked at his brother. "I don't know if I can keep doing this. Running, hiding, it's not living, Daniel. It's just existing." Daniel stood up, walking over to the window, his back to Michael. "Then we change that. We make this right. Together." The weight of his words hung in the air, and for the first time in days, Michael felt a glimmer of hope. The next morning, the decision was made. They were leaving the city, but this time they weren't just running. They were taking action. As they packed their bags, Michael's thoughts swirled. "Do you really think this will work, Daniel?" he asked, his voice full of doubt. Daniel didn't answer right away, but his movements were deliberate, confident. "I'm not sure," he said finally, "but we have to try. We can't keep living like this, always looking over our shoulders." Michael sighed, feeling the weight of the situation settle over him. "I thought we were past this, Daniel. I thought we were done with the lies and the running." Daniel paused, meeting Michael's gaze. "I thought so too. But sometimes the past doesn't let you go that easily." Michael's chest tightened, his mind racing. "So what's next? We fight? We take them on head first?" Daniel's expression softened, his voice quiet but firm. "We face it, Michael. We face everything we've been running from, and we make it right." As they left the city behind, the road stretched out before them, an endless path filled with uncertainty. Michael's mind raced with questions. "How do we even begin to take on the people who have been hunting us?" he asked, his voice tense. Daniel kept his eyes on the road, his grip steady on the wheel. "We don't take them on directly, Michael. We outsmart them. We stay one step ahead." Michael watched him for a moment, studying his brother's face, which was hard with determination. "You make it sound so easy." Daniel's lips curled into a faint smile. "It's not easy, but we've been through worse. We just have to keep our heads down and stay focused." Michael nodded, but the doubt still lingered in his mind. "I hope you're right." The silence that followed was heavy with the weight of their journey. They had no destination, no clear plan, only the need to survive, and the hope that somehow they would find a way out. The days blurred together as they traveled, always moving, never stopping for too long. But as the tension between them built, so did the unspoken questions. One night, as they camped in a small cabin, Michael couldn't hold back any longer. "What happens if we can't outrun them, Daniel?" he asked, his voice raw with fear. Daniel paused, looking at the fire crackling in front of them, his eyes dark. "Then we fight. We stand our ground." Michael shook his head, frustration and fear rising. "And if we lose, what if we're not strong enough?" Daniel turned to face him, his eyes unwavering. "We will be strong enough, because we're in this together." Michael stared at him, his breath heavy in his chest. "I'm scared, Daniel. I don't know if I'm ready for this." Daniel's voice softened, and he placed a hand on Michael's shoulder. "We don't have to be ready. We just have to keep moving forward." Michael let out a long breath, the fear still there. But now there was something else. Resolve. The time had come. Michael and Daniel stood on the edge of a cliff, looking down at the vast expanse below them. The wind howled, carrying with it the promise of change. "This is it," Michael said, his voice quiet but steady. "We either fight now, or we lose everything." Daniel stood beside him, his posture unwavering. "We fight. For ourselves. For our future." Michael looked at him, seeing the determination in his brother's eyes. "Then let's do it. Let's take the fight to them." Daniel turned to face him, a slight smile on his lips. "Together, Michael. We do this together." The storm had passed, and the night ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in a long time, Michael felt like they had a chance. They were ready to face whatever came next. Together, the time had come. Michael and Daniel stood in the alley, ready for what awaited them. "This is it, Daniel," Michael whispered, facing the unknown. "There's no turning back now." Daniel nodded, his face hard with determination. "We've made it this far. We can't stop now." Michael's heart pounded as the figures in the distance approached. "Do you think we can really win this?" Michael asked, doubt creeping into his voice. Daniel kept his gaze fixed ahead. "We have no choice. We fight, or we lose everything." The cold night air swirled around them. Michael clenched his fists, taking a deep breath. "Then, let's do it. Together." With that, the weight of the decision settled in. This was the moment they had been running from. The moment to face their past and take control of their future. The sound of footsteps echoed as the figures emerged from the shadows. Michael's stomach tightened. "It's them," he whispered, his voice low. Daniel's expression remained stoic. "They've been looking for us." The tension grew as the figures drew closer, their intentions clear. Michael's breath quickened. "What do we do now?" he asked, his voice hoarse. Daniel turned to him, his eyes unwavering. "We fight. We make this right." Michael's gaze flickered between Daniel and the approaching danger. The air was thick with hostility. "I never wanted this," Michael admitted, his chest tightening. "I just wanted to be free." Daniel's voice was firm. "And now we fight for that freedom, together." The confrontation was inevitable. The first voice broke the silence. "You think you can escape, Daniel?" the figure sneered. Daniel stepped forward. "This ends now," he said. Michael stood back, watching, heart racing. The figure laughed coldly. "You've made too many enemies. It's too late for redemption." Daniel's eyes narrowed. "You underestimated us." The tension was palpable as the two sides prepared for battle. Michael's mind raced. "Is this how it ends?" he thought. But the answer came as Daniel threw the first punch. The alley became a battleground. Michael stood firm, feeling the weight of the moment. It was time to fight back, to face everything they had been running from. The fight escalated quickly. Michael fought with everything he had, adrenaline fueling his every move. "We can't keep doing this," he yelled over the chaos. Daniel's voice came from behind him. "We don't need to. We just need to hold them off long enough." Michael's body ached with each strike, but he pushed forward. The figures were relentless, but so were they. Daniel moved with precision, but Michael could see him slowing down. "We're running out of time," Michael said, frustration seeping through. "We finish this now." With one final push, the last of the attackers fell. Michael staggered, breathless. "Is it over?" he asked, his voice shaking. Daniel nodded, his body bruised but unbroken. For now, the fight was over. The alley was quiet once more, save for their heavy breathing. Michael looked at Daniel, battered but standing strong. "We made it through," Michael said, his voice barely above a whisper. Daniel gave him a tired smile. "We did. But it's not over." Michael's gaze shifted to the destruction around them. "I don't know if I can forgive you for everything, Daniel," he admitted, his voice filled with emotion. Daniel's smile faded. "You don't have to. I'll spend my life trying to earn that forgiveness." Michael let out a long breath, his shoulders relaxing. "Then let's move forward, together." They stood in the aftermath of the fight, not knowing what the future held, but ready to face it as brothers, together.